Hello, ho, ho, and welcome to Displaying Model Behavior, where I'm still collecting videos for the Christmas special. So if you want to be a part of this year's, then you can send me a video to davidsmodelbehavior@gmail.com telling me your name, where you're from, and what your favorite action figure of 2025 was. If you can film it in widescreen, letterbox format, that would be awesome. And you can use WeTransfer, you can use Google Docs, you could send it to me on Instagram if you want. Whatever you do and however you do it, it would be great to have as many people featured in the Christmas special as possible. This is my favorite video to make every single year, and I've been counting down the days until I can start working on this year's edition. So gang, get your submissions in as soon as you can, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all in the Christmas special. If 2025 has taught me nothing else, and it hasn't, it's that I should probably give some more attention to DC Comics, because this year they have been crushing it, and genuinely, they got a new fan in this guy. Also, I've just really dated this video, but hey ho, we are going to discuss the 100 essential DC characters and what action figures you can get to represent them in the ultimate DC display. McFarlane are going to be losing their DC license in the next year or so. Mattel's going to be taking over, and we're going to get a whole new wave. But until then, what figures do we need from all different lines and genres from all throughout the last decade or so can we use to put together to make that ultimate DC display? Now, I'm trying to go for 1/12 scale, the good Lord scale, the best scale. But of course, McFarlane just doesn't want to do things in that scale, so sometimes things might be a little bit all over the place. But generally, if you smoosh all these guys together, you're gonna have a badass looking display. And you can always do a little bit of Ian McKellen, Gandalf, Lord of the Rings, Force perspective. You can make it work. I believe in you. So without any further ado, folks, this is the top 100 most essential DC action figures. We're going to do this thing alphabetically, and oh boy, already I'm realizing what a whopper of a video this is going to be. So, Alfred Pennyworth, Batman's faithful servant. There's a few different versions out there, but honestly, I'm going to go back to the Mattel version, which I think is my most classic idea of what Alfred should look like. Plus Mattel doing the 6-inch scale, that's what we're after. This is a good start, and he still holds up after all these years. Next up, we've got Amazo, and this is a character who I'm not overly familiar with, but hey, I'm still wetting my beak in the DC universe. And when I did a live stream asking people what are the most essential characters, this dude was pretty prominent. So Amazo, once again, we're going to have to go back to DC Direct because I don't think we have a good comparison. So even though he's a bit of an older figure, he still looks pretty good, even by today's standards. The Anti-Monitor. Time for McFarlane to make an appearance, and there's going to be a few more to come. McFarlane do mechs and monsters better than anyone else, at least with this price point. And this one is perfect because he's meant to be big and huge. Therefore, the larger McFarlane scale actually works beautifully. So Anti-Monitor, that is an easy one. First place for McFarlane. This episode is sponsored by Legendsverse, your one-stop shop for all of your action figure collecting, cataloging, and correlating needs. And now, Legendsverse is teaming with friend of the show, Nerdzoic, to offer 10% off at the Nerdzoic store for all Legendsverse members. So click the link in the description below, check out Legendsverse, go buy some action figures at Nerdzoic, and then you can log them all on the website. And when you do, tell them Model Behavior sent you. Aquaman. Now we're going to go over to one of my favorite brands, and that has to be Mezco. And they give us a classic, real classic Aquaman. Now Mezco could be really hit and miss. It's funny, I love them, but when they whiff, they can whiff big time. But this isn't one of them. A really great old school classic Aquaman. This was an easy choice. Now, this might be a little bit of an interesting choice for Ares, because I think Mattel did do a real classic-looking comic book Ares, but I want to go a bit more a bit more zhuzhed up and high-end. So I'm going to go over to Storm Collectibles, because they did an Injustice Ares. And of course, the Injustice characters, they're slightly redesigned. They're maybe zhuzhed up and they look a little more badass than the comic book counterparts. So if you want to go comic book, you can go for the Mattel Classic. But me personally, I want this list to be like the creme de la creme of the biggest and best characters. So with that in mind, I'm going to go for the big stonking Storm Collectibles Ares. Atom Smasher. Once again, McFarlane, being a little bit loosey-goosey with their scale, actually allows for a big, domineering, wicked-looking Atom Smasher. For characters like this, the larger scale actually lends itself perfectly. Once again, it's another win for McFarlane. And now we're just getting back-to-back from the Todd Father, because we've got Atrocitus. And first of all, that's one of my favorite names that I've just discovered recently. Atrocitus. You know that's not a good guy. And this figure, he looks like an Atrocitus. If I didn't know that was his name, I could have hazarded a guess. And once again, McFarlane with the big, monstrous characters, absolutely perfect.
And now we have Bane.
And it's so funny that now this is Bane's voice in movies and animated features.
Now he will forever speak like this.
Which is so funny because Bane is meant to be like Latin American, isn't he? Or South American? He's from Santa something prison. Like, he is supposed to talk like this. Toys. You try to fight me with toys. I will break you! Like, that's Bane. But hey,
now this is Bane.
So we got loads of different versions of one of my favorite Batman villains. Mafex did a really great Nightfall Bane. He scales a little small compared to some other ones. Then, of course, we've got the huge big McFarlane Mega figure. I love that one. But honestly, if I want to mix things up a little bit, I'm once again going to go back to Storm Collectibles because they did their Injustice Bane. It's not my absolute favorite Bane design, but just with the size and the quality of the Storm Collectibles style, I think this would be the ultimate addition to what is supposed to be the ultimate DC set. Batgirl. Now this is tough. I'm torn with this one because McFarlane, honestly, I think have made the best looking comic book Batgirl, but dang it, Todd, with your 7-inch scale, or whatever scale, 1/10, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Bigger than 1/6, the good Lord scale, but I'm still gonna go for DC Multiverse because I really like the style, the look. This is the Batgirl as I envision her. Unfortunately, she does look a little bit Amazonian. You can see why I'm choosing the bigger version of Bane, because otherwise that ain't gonna work. Look, do a little forced perspective. You can fudge it in, all right? I believe in you, because this is the one I'm going for. Now for Batman, and it might come as a shock to you to hear that there are quite a few Batman figures out there. And honestly, it's purely just aesthetic, subjective choice. Whatever you want to go for. But for me personally, I love my soft goods. I like the different materials. My personal favorite Batman is possibly the Mezco Sovereign Knight. But I want to go super up to date. So Gong Studios have just released, at least not in the West yet, he's coming out next year, but Gong Studios have done their Hush Batman, and I love the look of this. While I'm filming this, or at the time I'm filming this, I'm getting ready to go to Hong Kong, so I might see if I can pick one up while I'm out there. So for me, Gong Studios Hush Batman, but people are loving the LPZZ Batman, the Arkham one. There's so many to choose from. Whichever style of Batman you like the most, there's a good bet there's an action figure of it. And sticking with Batman, we got a trinity of essential Batman figures. Now we got Batman Beyond, who I have been reliably informed is canonical to the main DC universe. Because before I was like, yeah, he's a cool character, but it's not really main DC. But from what I understand, there's so much like crossover and overlapping that, you know what? He is, kind of like Spider-Man 2099. So Terry McGinnis is going to get the Revoltech treatment from me. We've got a whole bunch of good versions of the character, but the Revoltech one, that lends itself to the futuristic style. So the slightly kind of mechanical nanotech kind of suit that he wears, Revoltech, like that is perfect for that dude. I really do love this one. And then for the third Batman, we've got the Batman Who Laughs. Some folks might think that this is too modern of a character to be essential, but I mean, he made a big impact when he first appeared. and then got overexposed. I'll be the first person to admit that, but it seems like DC are taking their foot off the gas, giving the character a bit of a rest, and then it can be meaningful when this character returns. But McFarlane did a few versions of this. I think the Sky Tyrant is the coolest one to go for, with the huge wings looking so menacing. This just reminds me of Rhea Ripley doing a Batman Who Laughs cosplay for one of her WrestleMania entrances. Good times. So also, for him, you can throw in some of his Robins as well, because they're just a little bit of nightmare fuel. So that's another fun one from McFarlane. Beast Boy. Once again, McFarlane, coming in clutch when we need him most. Beast Boy can be as big or as small as he wants to be, I assume. Because, I mean, yeah, he does metamorphosize, but can he change mass? I mean, I guess he must do. I ask these funny questions where I'm like, does it really matter, Dave? Honestly, yes. Yes, it does. It still bugs me sometimes when Megatron can go from giant robot to small handgun. But I know that they do make points about saying, oh, they have matter-shifting technology or whatever it is. I'll allow it. But what's your excuse, Beast Boy? But hey, the McFarlane Beast Boy Build-A-Figure, a lot of alliteration there. He looks really fun. Great addition for the Teen Titans. Big Barda, a character that I don't really know very well, but I know her name. And then when I saw the character after seeing the name, I was like, huh. I was expecting more of like a big opera singer type lady rather than this sort of armored Wonder Woman looking character. But Mattel DC Universe Classics. I had to glance down to check my notes there. Wave 7 while I'm looking at my notes. There you go. That's the best version of Big Barda, because I don't know if we have a McFarlane one. If we do, then again, she's going to be a bit too big. Why am I hypothesizing on a figure that I don't even know exists? Go for Mattel Classics. Bizarro, another winner for McFarlane, because yes, maybe Bizarro is supposed to be the same size and proportions of Superman, but hey, he's a twisted, funhouse mirror version of Superman, so he can be a bit more big and chunky and chonky. So with this being the case, McFarlane, absolutely perfect for Bizarro. Black Adam, the balance of power on your DC multiverse shelf is about to shift. And we've got a classic comic book Black Adam to do that. There are some movie versions as well, so I think there's one of The Rock with the throne he can sit in. If you want to throw the throne in, have the comic book one sat on there, that would look pretty good. Once again, McFarlane, bit too big. I'm going to stop saying that because we know. We get it now, Dave. You can edit yourself. But they did do a nice classic comic book looking version of Black Adam. Black Canary, one of my favorite street-level vigilante-type characters. This one, it's gotta be Mattel. They've got the size and the scale, and once again, even after all these years, yeah, there's a few quality-of-life improvements that we've had in action figures, but stacking her up next to modern ones, there really isn't too big of a difference. I think she would go just fine. Black Lightning. I couldn't find many examples of Black Lightning figures, and honestly, I gotta go for McFarlane. With this being the case, I don't think there are any ones that are better suited size-wise. I think McFarlane's the only game in town when it comes to this character, which honestly, that needs to change. Mattel, once you finally get the license, give us some more Black Lightning figures. Black Manta, Aquaman's big bad. My brain went, is it Aquaman or Aquaman? I guess American pronunciation is more Aquaman. Here in good old Blighty, we say Aquaman. Are you going down the shops to buy an Aquaman figure? Anyway, this is a great looking version of the character. Black Manta. My brain couldn't access the name there for a second. But, of course, Mafex is going to be a little bit smaller. Did I even say Mafex? Mafex. That's the one I'm going for. That's what happens when my brain goes off on tangents. Of course, there's a McFarlane one as well who might look a bit more intimidating, a bit more badass. But Mafex is going to be a little bit more in keeping with the right kind of scale, especially if we're going for a Mezco Aquaman, whichever one we go for. I think the Mafex Black Manta would be the best addition. Black Mask, one of the B-C tier Batman villains. Maybe I'm counting him, out a little bit or selling him short, but he's certainly not one of the big A-list villains. And because of that, we don't actually have many action figures of him. For this one, I gotta go way back into time with the DC Universe Signature Collection Black Mask by Mattel. That's the closest version I could find. You know what? You could probably kit bash an amazing one. Just need a suit body and a skull that you can paint. So yeah, you could always make one yourself. But if you want an official version, then you got to go back in time to the old Mattel one. Blue Beetle. Once again, we're going to hit up McFarlane. Even though he's a human character, I feel like McFarlane gave us the best classic comic book version of this character. I really actually like what they did with this one. It turned out really well, so even though he might be a bit big, I think it's one of the better Blue Beetles. And what would Blue Beetle be without Booster Gold? I guess this is kind of a 2-in-1 combination entry with these two here. And once again, Booster Gold, another good version of the character. And hey, even if they might be bigger than some other figures on this list, at least together, they'll scale really well. And that's really what matters with these two. Brainiac. Okay, this guy is going to be making some waves over the next few years. Probably the big bad of the next Superman movie. And I'm going to go for the Injustice version of Brainiac from McFarlane. Once again, big scary character, can be as large or as small as he really needs to be for our needs. So this is the most intimidating looking one. The Injustice design kind of modified him for the modern age, but then we've got McFarlane doing that design, but with the comic book colors. So you get the best of both worlds. This perfect Brainiac. Captain Atom. Hey, the clue's in the name. Atoms. Big, small, vibrating all around. What I'm trying to say is McFarlane have another winner with this one. They can make him as big as he needs to be. And honestly, the McFarlane, mega figure, woo! Yeah, that's fantastic. I love messing around with the big and small characters, get a dynamic display. This one, easy choice. Captain Cold. You know what? After Batman and Spider-Man, I think The Flash has one of the best rogues gallery of villains, and Captain Cold, he's one of the biggest and the baddest. So this McFarlane version with the woolly Parker and just the different weapons, I think he's really good. This is one of those rare human characters that McFarlane made, and I was like, okay, Todd, it's not just mechs and monsters. Sometimes you make a pretty darn good looking human character. Catwoman. Once again, there are many different versions of Selena Kyle out there. For me, it's got to be my favorite brand, Mezco. They've done a couple of different versions, but this kind of modern looking one with the goggles, the sleek costume, yeah, that's a really good looking Catwoman there. So I'd happily use this one, but again, you can shop around. There are so many different makes and manufacturers. It's all down to your personal aesthetic. But to me, I love the soft goods, love the Mezco style. That's an easy choice for Catwoman. Cheetah. Once again, we're going to have to go back in time. We've got a Mattel, what is it? DC Direct Justice League action figure, Cheetah Series 1. That's the exact one I gotta go for. I hate looking down at my notes when I'm filming, but sometimes I want to make sure I get the right info out there. This Cheetah, she looks the business. I mean, she still stacks up relatively well to modern figures. If a company like Mattel or Hasbro released this figure today, I'd be like, mate, state of your action figure. But genuinely, for what they were working with at the time, I think it holds up really nicely. Clayface. Oh, man, there are two. I'm going to make some more work for myself here. There are two great Clayface figures that I want to nominate for this one. There's the McFarlane Mega figure, which is a wonderfully horrific version of Clayface. I love it with the jaw, the skulls, the faces all. Oh, man, nightmare fuel. Brilliant. And then on the flip side, we got the Mondo 1/6 scale Clayface, and Clayface can be as big or as small as he wants to be. Of course, this is a more animated style, but Clayface is a shapeshifter. He can look however he wants to. When I saw pictures of the Mondo one, I was like, that ain't much. And then I saw him in a display cabinet, and I was like, holy moly, I know it's just a big brown blob, but it looks so cool. So, if I had to choose one, I'd say McFarlane, but honestly, both of these, really great figures. It's important to have some civilian, or at least human characters in your display, so we gotta have Jim Gordon. I guess not really a civilian, but certainly human. And we're gonna go back in time a little bit as well, but with a wonderfully realized comic book version of the character. So this is DC Direct Commissioner Gordon. It's the Greg Capullo designer series. I love that when we get an action figure that is based straight up, this is the artwork, this is the artist, this is what we're doing. And in Mattel's case, they nailed it. Gonna get a little bit magical and mystical now with John Constantine. And once again, back to Mezco. With a character like this, you gotta have the soft goods. First of all, the trench coat. The iconic big duster trench coat. He's got to have that. So, of course, you want a company that's going to do nice, soft goods. Boom. Mezco nailed it. But then with the rest of his suit as well, just the gritty, weathered kind of facial sculpt, it's a perfect, in my mind, a perfect John Constantine, easy addition. For Cyborg, I'm once again happy to go with McFarlane on this one. Because yeah, he's got a human head, or most of it anyway, but the rest of him is all just cyborg tech. Make him as big and intimidating looking as you like. And McFarlane went high in on the detail with this one as well. It's a really fun, intricate figure. So genuinely, this was actually an easy McFarlane. I was like, yeah, you know what, Todd? You got another winner here. And now this is one I was super torn on. Cyborg Superman. I love evil cyborg doppelganger type characters. It's just, something about it. I'm like, that is awesome. And this McFarlane Cyborg, this is like the coolest, meanest version of the character. They've also done more of a classic Return of Superman version too, or Reign of the Superman. That was it. I like that. And if you want to go old school retro 90s, and if you know me, you know I'm all about old school retro 90s, you can go in that direction. But also, I was torn, like I said, because there's a great Mafex version of that Reign of the Superman figure, but I want to go a little more zhuzhed up, a little more badass, and because of that, it's got to be the more modern McFarlane version. I think that's so wicked. Damian Wayne, a character who I did not think was going to have the longevity that he has, but the character stuck around, and I do like his Robin design, the kind of tunic kind of look to what he wears. It's practical, it's cool, I dig it, and Mezco dug it too, and they made a really good version of this figure. So that's, once again, an easy choice. There are a few Damian Waynes out there, but nah, this one, honestly, head and shoulders above the rest, which is rare for Damian Wayne, by being probably, 4'8"? You don't often find him to be head and shoulders above anyone. Darkseid, a new challenger approaches. We're going to go for a different manufacturer this time, Beast Kingdom. And Beast Kingdom, just look at this guy. Oh my goodness. Before I was even into DC, I kind of wanted to pick up this figure just because he looks beautiful. Beast Kingdom tend to do like 1/9 scale, so big characters, but again, it's Darkseid. I know he's not like a giant or Apocalypse with the size changing, but still, I don't care. I come at me, bro. I want this figure with the eye beams. Are they called Omega beams? But yeah, just everything about him just looks awesome. Beast Kingdom crushed it with this. I don't care what the classic comic book one is, which you can get from McFarlane if you want to. I want this mean mega version. This one, absolute essential. Deadshot, a very human character. So I'm going to go for a human scale. We've got the Mattel Deadshot. I'm trying not to use too many of the old figures, but considering that Mattel did such a good job with them back in the day, looking at all these old ones, I'm starting to understand why longtime DC fans were so disappointed when McFarlane got the license, because Mattel were doing good stuff. And the Deadshot? Yeah, he's another good addition. Deadman, I'm vaguely familiar with Deadman. I have a cursory knowledge of the character. So I was like, okay, do we have any Deadman figures? Not a lot to choose from, but we do have an old school classic that, again, is going to scale nicely. In this case, we've got the DC Comics icon Deadman. By my opinion, that's the one to go for. Now, I mentioned this company earlier, and I held off on nominating them for Batman because I knew they got a badass Deathstroke. LPZZ. Now, this Deathstroke is, of course, the Arkham version from the video games. So not the most comic accurate, but I mean, stop me if I'm wrong. If I'm lying, I'm dying. This is the most badass looking Deathstroke you're going to find out there. And this figure is so, like, hot, brand new. It's not even released yet, but he's going to be soon. So when he is, you might want to pick him up because dollars to donuts, hands down, this is the best looking Deathstroke I think you're going to find. Doomsday. It doesn't get more 90s than Doomsday. And I'm a little bit perturbed. That's the word, isn't it? I'm a little bit perturbed, ladies and gentlemen, because I don't think we have like the quintessential perfect Doomsday out there. I'm not feeling it from any of them, but if I gotta choose one, it's once again got to be McFarlane. Big monsters, that's his wheelhouse. But I just don't feel we've got like a classic Death of Superman version. We've got like slightly more modern or different or altered, even like the Superman 2-pack one. I feel like it's not quite how I see Doomsday, but it's pretty close. And at least until we get the absolute quintessential perfect version, pretty close, it's just going to have to do. Dr. Fate. We're going to go back over to Mezco with Dr. Fate, because with the magician type gimmick, that lets Mezco have a whole lot of fun. They got all the different accessories, the big, gong bell. That's what I was trying to think of. The gong bong bell that he wears, his helmet, it looks real nice with the sheen of the chrome from Mezco. They really put a lot of work and a lot of love into making this figure pop, and pop he does. You can pop him on your shelf. Eclipse, another character who I'm going to hesitate to use the word obscure, because clearly they're not obscure, it's just Dave doesn't know them very well. That's what it is. But hey, a lot of people said, Dave, if you're doing a top 100, you gotta have Eclipse. So okay, but you know what? Modern toy companies, they haven't said that, because we gotta go back in time. Once again, if you want an Eclipse figure, then it's gonna be the DC Universe Classics line to fill that slot. Firestorm. I always loved the design of Firestorm. I first saw him in an issue of Wizard magazine way back in the 90s, and I was like, okay, this dude looks pretty wicked. We do have a good Firestorm from McFarlane, but again, a little bit too big. So instead, I'm going to go back to the old Mattel Firestorm. I think they did a great job with him back in the day. Still holds up. Flash, of course, one of the big Justice League characters, big time A-list DC, and he gets an A-list style action figure courtesy of Revoltech. Revoltech, it can be a bit of a Marmite style. People don't always like it. Me personally, I think when they nail it, they nail it. And I saw this Flash in a display cabinet a long, long time ago now, and I was very enamored. I'm not even a big Flash guy, but I was like, could I justify getting it? It just looks so pretty. So this one, another edition for Revoltech, and maybe there might be a few more coming up soon. Son of Jor-El, kneel before Zod. Unfortunately, there aren't many Zod action figures with which to kneel before, so I'm gonna have to go. That was actually, I once wrestled a guy who had a king gimmick, and his name was Kneel Before Me, and I still remember that. Awful, horrible, rotten pro wrestler, just the worst. But he had a great name, Kneel Before Me. So yeah. Zod, what are we talking about? Yeah, Superman's big bad. Gonna have to go for McFarlane again. Until we get one that's more 6-inch scale, that's the best one for you. Gorilla Grodd, the big monkey man. Now, going over to McFarlane, no problem with that, because he's a big old monster. And one of their original Gorilla Grodd figures, which I used to own, is really, really good with the golden armor. Looks beautiful. Really, really beautiful. It's kind of torn, though, because they did do a mega figure of Gorilla Grodd, but the problem was I feel like he lacked paint. He looked a little tacky. He had this orange day-glow armor, which would have looked alright if there was more of a wash and a dry brush to bring it to life, but it just looked too plasticky. It was a real shame. So instead, I'm going to go for the smaller version of Gorilla Grodd with the gorgeous weathered golden armor. That looks beautiful. Green Arrow, Oliver Queen. I gotta go for McFarlane. Even though he's just a human character, I think they gave us the best looking classic Green Arrow. Maybe we'll get another one in the future that's more in keeping with the regular Good Lord scale. But for now, with McFarlane, what the heck? Just put him towards the front of your perspective. Make it look like he's close up. You can fudge it around. Don't worry, I won't tell anyone. Guy Gardner. Is this guy a 100 essential DC character? Well, just ask him. I'm sure he would tell you. And for this one, we got to go back in time once again to Mattel. This is the DC Direct Green Lantern Guy Gardner action figure. And yeah, got the bowl cut, got the classic Guy Gardner look for the Green Lantern costume. That's all you need, really. Hal Jordan, Green Lantern. Funny, just by coincidence, Guy Gardner, Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, both next to each other in the alphabet. Well, I thought it was funny. Anyway, Hal Jordan from Mezco. I love me the Mezco. Sometimes these just speak for themselves. If you want super classic, great looking OG Green Lantern, OG for me, all right? I had to qualify that one very quickly. I'll save you typing, don't worry. I know he's not the OG Green Lantern, but he sure as heck is my Green Lantern. So this, perfect Hal Jordan. Harley Quinn, another absolute classic, a modern day essential, and one that has so many different versions and variants that you could go for. For me personally, I'm going to go back over to Mezco again because I love my Mezcos, love my soft goods and all the quality that comes with them, and even they have a few different versions. Of course, you've got the classic Paul Dini look for Harley Quinn, which is the original. But I mean, she hasn't really worn that costume on the regular for a long, long time. So I'm going to go for the Mezco Playing for Keeps edition. I feel like this has all the classic Harley Quinn qualities, but in a modern style design. For that, just about perfect. Hawk Girl. I mean, with a character like this, you're going to take up a lot of space. So we're going to go for McFarlane, even though it's a female character who should be a little smaller anyway, so having her in that 7-inch scale is a little bit big. She's got the huge big wings, and again, McFarlane done a great job with that massive wingspan. Focus on the wings. Don't look too much at the size of the character. You do that, it'll fit in just fine. And hey, look, let's just be real lazy, shall we? We're in the giant imaginary action figure warehouse. We went to Hawk, so Hawk Girl got McFarlane. You know what? Screw it. We're right here. Hawkman, yeah, McFarlane too. Genuinely though, I think it is the best Hawkman figure for your money out there. Not a huge amount of options. So hey, if you're going to have the two Hawk characters together, they might as well be in the same scale, even if it's the wrong scale. This was a bit of a tricky one now. We've got Hugo Strange. I got familiar with Hugo Strange from the Batman Arkham City game, so that's where I know him from. But I certainly don't know him from action figures because there really are not many to choose from. So I'm going to go back in time here. The Batman Arkham City, makes sense. Hugo Strange 7-inch action figure Comic-Con 2023 exclusive edition. That's a whole lot of name for an old figure. Wow, that might be one of the oldest figures out there. Over 10 years old, but hey, as a classic Hugo Strange, that's how far back we gotta go. Huntress, a great part of the Batman family and a great addition from Mafex. Finally, we're getting a female character who is the right kind of proportions for herself, not a big Amazonian McFarlane gigantess. You might even argue that Mafex is scaling a little bit too small compared to the bigger ones, but hey, I'm doing my best. And Mafex were doing their best with this one as well. I genuinely think this is the best looking Huntress that you're going to find. You know what? We're going to stick with Mafex as well because we got to get a figure for Hush. And I think the Mafex Hush is my favorite design for the character. Because first of all, there are so many elements about the Hush look that I really, really like. The bandage head, like that's always cool. I loved it when Ben Reilly had his lost years and he wrapped his head up in bandages as a disguise. But also, he's got the black and red not Robin tunic. Like, there was a very small part in the story where he wanted to trick Batman into thinking that Jason Todd had come back from the grave. So there was it Clayface was disguising himself as Robin? But anyway, he made this sort of modern costume, which is now like the Hush costume. And Mafex made that costume, and it looks really good. I probably belabored that point too much, but there you go. Another essential Green Lantern figure. We got the John Stewart version. And Mezco, I didn't even realize. I thought I was very familiar with all the different figures that Mezco had made. I didn't realize we had a John Stewart Green Lantern figure from Mezco. So yeah, easy. Hands down. I will say McFarlane have some nice Green Lantern accessories. I think, does John Stewart come with a big Green Lantern minigun? I think he might do. But anyway, that notwithstanding, still, Mezco, definitely the one I'd go for. And now we have the clown prince of crime, the Joker. And of course, a bajillion different Joker figures out there. But just so happens that Mezco have made a very classic comic book looking Joker that, I say classic, but he's got very sort of modern detail that has him looking just kind of scary and real like, whoa, you do not want to run into this guy down a dark alley or a bright alley or any alley in particular at all. Mezco really captured sort of the terror, I think, of Joker, like so maniacal. Then with all the soft goods and the accessories and all the different accoutrements you get with Mezco, you can shop around whatever aesthetic style you like. But for me, Mezco absolutely nailed it. Jonah Hex. This was one that I was a little bit torn on for including in a top 100 because it was kind of like Batman Beyond. I'm like, yeah, it's an essential DC character, but kind of like timelines sort of all over the place. But you know what? I'm going to go with him. Mainly because McFarlane made a really nice Jonah Hex on horseback. that's going to make the collection pop a little bit. I love my different sizes and mechs and monsters, but throwing in a horse as well, absolutely. Then again, a McFarlane scale horse. That is going to be a big monster of a horse, but what the heck? I'll allow it. This one, it's a fun figure. Killer Croc. We're filling out Batman's Rogues Gallery. And for Killer Croc, easy to go for McFarlane because I don't mind Killer Croc. What is it, Waylon Jones? Is that his name? I know that he can sometimes be depicted as just a big bruiser, human-sized character. But it all depends on the writer, the artist, the story, the style. He can be huge, big, and hulking. And that's where McFarlane comes into the equation. So this is the Arkham version of Killer Croc. But man, what a big badass look for the guy. I really like this. Kilowatt now. Another figure that I got to admit, not that familiar with, or character in general. But Kilowatt, they are out there, and apparently they warrant a place on the top 100. If you disagree, let me know, and who would you put in instead? But hey, McFarlane, they know who they are, and they made a nice-looking action figure of them, so there you go. That's one spot here for Kilowatt. I just saw that my autocorrect corrected this one to Kind Shark. So if you want a Kind Shark in your collection, then you want to go for McFarlane. Again, big monster. Boom. I don't want to repeat myself, but sometimes you just have to. King Shark from McFarlane Toys, whether it's the actual Justice League one from the movie. Sorry, not Justice League. You know what I'm talking about. The other movie. That still works because it's a big, giant anthropomorphic shark man. That's all you need right there. But if you want to go outside the box a little bit, do something a little bit unusual, then Abyss Toys made their 3 gangster shark characters. So there's a great white version there. So if you want to go for something outside of the McFarlane wheelhouse, you could always get yourself an Abyss Shark man, and honestly, he'd easily pass for King Shark. Lex Luthor. Okay, now we're talking A-list villains, and McFarlane stepping in once again, I feel, for Lex with his power armor. So there are more classic Mattel-style Lex Luthors who are going to fit more in with the human characters, but then again, Lex is wearing his big Iron Man type suit, so yeah, maybe he might have a bit of a melon head compared to the other 1/12 scale characters, but I don't care, because McFarlane made a really cool, bright, popping green and purple mech suit, so I'm happy to include that. Lobo, the main man. For this one, I'm going to go Storm Collectibles, but maybe with a caveat as well. Because Storm Collectibles, I just love the size, the heft, the scale, the quality. It's all there. Of course, they scale like 7-inch, like a little bit bigger as well. But I don't mind. Again, Lobo, huge, big bruiser. But if you go McFarlane, then you can get a similar scale of Lobo, but with his, is it called like the Space Hog, the bike that he rides? That's really cool as well. So whichever one you want to go for, I think maybe McFarlane might tip it. If I absolutely had to choose, I'd go for the vehicle as well. So therefore, McFarlane Lobo, that would be my choice. Speaking earlier of civilian characters, Lois Lane. But this is real tough, because Lois Lane, there's not a lot of options out there. There really aren't. So I went back to, what did I even get? Oh yeah, I had to go animated for Lois Lane. So that's really going to throw off the aesthetics of the display. So I chose the Superman animated DC 6-inch action figure box set, Superman and Lois Lane 2-pack. All right, so there you go. Lois Lane, not a lot of options to choose from. But if you absolutely have to have Clark Kent's main squeeze, then make her animated. This one now is McFarlane at his monstrous best. It's Man-Bat, and it's the mega figure Arkham version. And yeah, perfect. Big, scary monster. That's what McFarlane gives us, and he does it so well. Love this Man-Bat. Absolutely phenomenal. Massive, terrifying, chonky character. Maybe it's bigger than Man-Bat should be. I don't care. It's a monster. He could be as big as he needs to be. This one, hands down, pants down. Great Man-Bat. Martian Manhunter, John Johns? I shouldn't have even tried to say what his proper name is. You know, because it probably hurt your ears when I said it. And you were like, Dave, geez. But Martian Manhunter, not a huge amount of options, but I actually do really rather like the McFarlane one. You see, it would be easy to just go, McFarlane for everything. Boom, done. Home in time for dinner. But I want to look at all these different lines. And for this one, yeah, I think McFarlane is the way to go. Mr. Terrific. The only name as arrogant as Mr. Fantastic. But why the heck not? If you are Mr. Terrific, you're going to be like, Yeah, well, I mean, I am terrific, so why wouldn't I call myself that? And McFarlane, I gotta admit, they did a pretty terrific action figure too. Mongol, the big bad alien menace of Superman. I remember hearing about this guy when I think Wizard magazine did a list of like good guys acting unusually brutal. And there was Superman who just told Mongol to burn and he roasted him with his laser vision. He had it coming. But yeah, McFarlane did a great, huge, big, bright and colorful. That's a big thing. I like that it pops off the shelf. So vibrant with those color choices and a big mega figure. Perfect. What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age. Mr. Freeze. Look, the Bane voice has stuck around and withstood the test of time. Luckily, Arnie's portrayal of Mr. Freeze, that's been left in the 90s. But Mezco, geez, their Mr. Freeze figure, stunning. Absolutely beautiful. That was another one that I haven't bought, but I'm always like, so tempted. Because it does look so great. Awesome costume, the dome, the frost and ice on him. So wicked. Every day I wake up, I swear I'm a day closer to buying that figure. Because he's just so cool. Ha! Cool. Because Freeze. Mr. Mixelplixsticks. You know what? When I was doing the live stream about this topic, I was told how to pronounce the name. Totally forgot it, but this dude, this little guy here who loves to go around causing trouble. We're going to go back in time for this one. We're going to get the DC Universe Superpowers 30th Anniversary Classics. Mr. Mixelplixsticks, whatever his name is. This is the exclusive 6-inch action figure from Mattel Toys. So there, I don't think there is like a particularly modern version out there. I mean, stop me if I'm wrong, but I did my due diligence. I was checking it out, and I think this is the clearest, most obvious one to go for. Nightwing, fighter of the day wing. I'm going to go for Mezco with this one, but there's a couple of nice high-end versions. There's a great Mafex as well. But Mezco, you give me the choice, I'm always going to go Mezco over any other version, and that's just me, and that's how a player's got to be. Some people hate Mezco. That's fair enough. Big bobblehead, pajama sock-looking costumes. What am I, an idiot? Don't answer that. But I love it. So Mezco, Dick Grayson, Nightwing, I think looks phenomenal. Love the way that they've recreated the suit, but in a very kind of like modern sort of looking style. Just Mezcified it a little bit with various panels and piping and armor and bits and pieces. Throw in the extra accessories as well. Wicked figure. Peacemaker. This is a tough one because I honestly couldn't find a non-John Cena Peacemaker. Maybe, guys, if there is a decent 6-inch scale comic book Peacemaker out there, comment below and let me know because I couldn't find it. So with that being the case, actually, you know what? I'm thinking McFarlane Peacemaker, but actually to keep the scale down, Mafex have a Peacemaker as well, don't they? You're literally seeing the cogs turn in real time. I'm sure they have. I'm sure they've done a John Cena Peacemaker. So with that being the case, I think I'd go for that one. The Penguin, Oswald Cobblepot. For this, you got to go for whatever, in my opinion, is going to be the most comic book accurate one. And once again, it's going to be McFarlane. Even though, of course, he's going to be a bit of a bigger penguin, I'll allow it. So for McFarlane, they've got a few different versions. So for me, it's the DC, the Penguin, McFarlane action figure, DC Classics, McFarlane. Yeah, so the DC Classics line. That's the one I was looking for there. McFarlane, DC Classics. He's got the more colorful comic book looking costume. I really like it. He's a bit of a chunky penguin, but I'll allow it. Plastic Man, another perfect one for McFarlane. Gotta love this one here because it's a build-a-figure. So you got all the different accessories, the stretching arms and limbs, the weird things that you can do with him. It's a perfect Plastic Man. Once again, Todd, doff of the cap. This is a character that lends himself perfectly to the size, the shape, the aesthetics of McFarlane toys. Even being such a weird character means that despite his stretching abilities, he has kind of like a human face, but it still works because it's weird. And it should be. So this, really great Plastic Man. Poison Ivy, can you Adam and Eve it? There actually aren't that many Poison Ivy figures out there. Like McFarlane? I would have thought McFarlane would have loved to have done a whole bunch of, sexy, alluring Poison Ivy figures. No, it's pretty much a dearth. We got the Batman and Robin one, and that's about it. So luckily, Mafex have stepped up to the game. And once again, it's a female character, so it's good to have a slightly smaller scale as well. So they've got their Hush Poison Ivy. Really nice looking figure. And if you want to, maybe you could find some plant-style monsters, maybe from a Resident Evil line or something. So there's probably some fun accessories you could put together with her. But yeah, you want to go Mafex for Poison Ivy. That's what I was trying to say. Power Girl. Once again, a character who I feel is like a license to print money. But then again, maybe companies are worried about the pearl clutchers going, oh, we can't have her on a store shelf. She has a boob window. I know, right? The horror. Luckily, Todd McFarlane's not a coward, so he made a decent-looking Power Girl. Of course, she's a little bit big, but hey, she's an Amazonian-type character. Don't come at me. I'm not saying she's Amazonian. I know that she's not a Wonder Woman character, but you know what I mean. Big, stacked, jacked muscle lady. Whew. Yeah, that's definitely model behavior coded. This McFarlane one, it's pretty good. The Question always reminded me of The Blank from Dick Tracy, but we've got the trench coat fedora and the plain face, and for this one we can go back in time to the Mattel version. DC Universe Classics The Question action figure. There we go. I think McFarlane have one as well, but no, we can actually get one that's a little bit more in line with the Good Lord scale. That's the one to go for. Ra's al Ghul. Now this one I was a little bit torn with. I'm gonna go for Mafex, because of course Mafex, lovely import quality. It's a good scale as well. But their Hush Ra's al Ghul is like shirtless Ra's al Ghul. Sexy Ra's al Ghul. I would have liked a fully clothed Ra's al Ghul, because that would have been a more sort of classic look for the character. The Mafex one is very much, that is Ra's from the Hush story. But it is a really good-looking Ra's, and he's the right scale as well. So for that, I'm going to go for him. Raven from the Teen Titans. Now this is a tough one, because Raven is not just a lady, she is a young girl. So having a big, tall, towering McFarlane figure, it's just not going to cut it. But I'm going to use one anyway, because I like it. So we've got the DC Multiverse Titans Beast Boy Builder-Figure, Raven. Hey, look, Mattel are going to swoop in about, 18 months or so, and start doing their own line of figures, and hopefully just have them all in the Good Lord scale. I mean, we don't know for certain, but I'm hoping that's going to be the case. So when that happens, we can get a new Raven that's the right size. Till then, I'll go for McFarlane. The Red Hood, one of the most modern figures on this list. We got the Mezco, and honestly, this was an instant sellout. I don't know why I'm saying honestly, like I don't work for Mezco. Honest, guys, it was a sellout. It was, because it looks awesome, and the Red Hood, he's a hot character. People love the Red Hood. He's wicked, myself included. I think he's awesome. And this version looks really, really cool. You got the soft goods, all the accessories, the different heads. Love the cracked mask, looks real badass. This is awesome. Easy, easy choice. For Red Tornado, we gotta go McFarlane to get the most modern figure. He's got all the sort of new tooling of a modern figure. And Red Tornado, stop me if I'm wrong, but he is an android, isn't he? I always kind of like put him as like the equivalent of the Vision for Justice League and Avengers. If I am wrong, I sincerely apologize. I'm doing my best here. Well, actually, no, Dave, your best would be doing your research in advance. Don't say that. I just did. Therefore, it doesn't count as criticism. So, Red Tornado from McFarlane, that's the one I'm going for. Reverse Flash, a man who has been described as the ultimate hater. I gotta love that. We're gonna go back to Revoltech, because they are not stupid people. They made their Flash and they were like, ho, this is an easy recolor. And it was, and it still looks wicked with all the red lightning crackling around him. Those two characters next to each other, so good. But yeah, Reverse Flash, Revoltech, easy choice. Scarecrow, one of my favorite ooky spooky scary Batman villains. This is a character who has so many different looks. It's not always easy to decide, well, what is the most classic looking Scarecrow? Because pretty much every different design has been done in one way, shape, and form. Me personally, I'm going to go for the DC Multiverse 7-inch action figure Scarecrow from the DC Classics variant of the line. I think that kind of captures the most essential, iconic look of Scarecrow, at least in my opinion. Sergeant Rock, one more character who I throw in with Batman Beyond and Jonah Hex as like, not sort of the same timeline, but still such a classic DC character. They got to get their moment in the sun. So for this one, I'm going to go for the DC Direct Sergeant Rock Our Fighting Forces action figure. That's very specific, but I had to look up and dig deep. Yes, there's a McFarlane one, and he's decent, but again, it's big. Todd, you're casting yourself out of the game. So I'm going to go a little bit more obscure. I think it's quite a fun entry. Shazam. Okay, we're going to go back to Mezco for this one. Billy Batson, Shazam, Captain Marvel to some old school watchers. This is a really nice example of what Mezco can do with their soft goods, just making them pop and making it look like it's not a sock either. I think they've actually done a nice job of contouring it and conforming it to the body, so it looks really, really good. The first time I met Captain Marvel, like I bumped into him in person, but it was during the DC Marvel crossover where he was fighting Thor, and Thor realized, oh, you change to and from your powers with a bolt of lightning. Huh. I can do something with that. Yeah, so he just like clicked his fingers, bolt of lightning, turned back to Billy Batson. And it's like, well, this is going to be an easy fight. Anyway, there you go. You want to go Mezco with that one. Sinestro. Now, for Green Lantern's big bad, there's a couple of different versions, and I'm going to go McFarlane once again because it's got some real lovely looking accessories. You know me? I'm a sucker for translucent pretty things. That's exactly what this one brings to the table. Translucent pretty things. So honestly, I'll take it. Yeah, he's a bit bigger than he needs to be, but that Sinestro style construct with the translucent yellow, beautiful. Yeah. Get out of my dreams and onto my shelf. Born on a Monday, Solomon Grundy. I'm going to go DC Collectibles with this one. And Solomon Grundy, once again, one of those figures. You can get a big, chunky version if you want. There are a few different ones out there. So really, this one is very much your own personal aesthetic. I like my choice. I like just like the look of the character. I'm like, oh, boom, straight out of the comics. I really, really dig that. So really, you can shop around. But this is the one I'm going for. Spectre is a tough one because not only is he a human-sized character, but he's a very naked human-sized character, so there's nothing to disguise the larger McFarlane proportions. But in this case, I just gotta go with the larger McFarlane proportions. My hands are tied here. And hey, look, he's kind of a big, scary Grim Reaper looking type character anyway, so he can afford to be a little bit tall. It's like, hey, which basketball team did you play for? I don't know, but he would have been a good, I know I was about to say some basketball term. I don't even know what it is. Point guard? Is that a thing? He'd have been a great point guard. He would have scored a lot of basket goals. Starfire, kind of like Raven. I would want a smaller figure, but there just aren't any other smaller figures out there. At least Starfire, I think, is meant to be, alien, like a little bit bigger, so I can kind of get away with that slightly. But it's going to be the Starfire DC Rebirth McFarlane figure. And they, say what you will about the size, she does look like a really nice, pretty-looking figure. Once again, McFarlane, I rag on them occasionally, but they do make some nice figures. Occasionally. And speaking of McFarlane doing what they do best, Starro. Huge, big monster. There you go. I don't want to belabor the point too much because I've said it a few times. Mechs and monsters, that's what McFarlane do best. Starro is no exception. Huge, big version of a huge, big character. Pretty much perfect. Static Shock, a cool character who does not have enough action figure representation. Because of that, I gotta go back to the well of McFarlane. I know it feels like a cop-out and sometimes the easy choice, but if there's nothing else going, then you gotta go with the one that's available. And in this case, once again, it's gonna be McFarlane. Steel, another addition to the reign of the Supermen and a character that's had a nice amount of longevity. This one I was a little bit torn with, because McFarlane have made some nice steel figures, and yeah, they're big, but the dude is in a suit of armor, so of course he's going to be a bit bigger. But I want to go classic, so I'm going to go for the Mafex steel. Really, really like this one. Maybe it's a little bit unfair. The Reign of the Supermen, I'm doing two, and then not two others. Is classic 90s Superboy an essential? I could argue maybe he is. I know that I'm a fan. And then also Eradicator, but hey, look, I'm going for the ones that I feel have sort of been around the most. And rightly or wrongly, for me, that's Cyborg, Superman, and Steel. Steppenwolf. Okay, once again, we're going to go McFarlane with Steppenwolf. I feel that even though it's not the most classic comic booky look for the character, it just looks big, badass, domineering, and you know me, I want my size differences. I want the scale to be the same, but the characters to be big and small. You don't always get what you want, but sometimes you get what you need. And McFarlane, in this case, I think this is what I need. No, it's what I want. Honestly, no, I don't even know what I want. So now it's time for possibly the most important figure of the DC universe. It's the Man of Steel. It's Superman. And I gotta say, for Superman, I have to go for a figure that's not Superman. Yeah, I'm gonna go for a non-Superman figure for Superman, because this is definitely not Superman. This is the National Defender, in no way associated with DC's Big Blue Boy Scout Man of Steel. Nah, get that thought out of your mind. However, if you did want to use this as a Superman figure, then by heck, it would be absolutely beautiful. Of course, I'm being a little bit facetious. We all know what's going on here. And what is going on is the best damn Superman figure I think has ever been made. Just look at it. It's that beautiful combination of comic book, but also kind of like sort of realistic, but kind of hyper-realistic, kind of caricature almost, but such a great square jaw, classic old school Superman. He's got that sort of 1940s comic strip look, but in a modern sensibility with a bit of the Paul Dini animated type look as well. I love it. I dig it so much. You can actually get a Clark Kent version as well to go with your actual full-on Superman. So he comes with the suit and the hat, and you can do the whole pulling the shirt open, revealing the shield underneath. So to get that as a pair, absolutely beautiful. Just in no way say that it's Superman when you go to buy it. Otherwise, the action figure police might be knocking on your door. But as long as you're willing to skirt around the copyright, this is probably the best Superman figure, or not Superman figure, that you're ever going to find. Now, just speaking of Superboy, boom, Superboy Prime. This is where I do get a little bit confused with some DC chronology. If only there was a comic book series out there called The New History of the DC Universe that I could read and find out. Of course, that would involve me reading. I'm kidding. I love reading comic books. There's just too many to choose from at the moment. Right now, I'm loving the Absolute line. So good. But I digress. Superboy Prime. And there you go. Another one from McFarlane. There's nothing else out there. So for that case, Todd still wins again. I love that. Todd wins because there's nothing else out there. Supergirl. And for Supergirl, Revoltech. I didn't even remember that there was a Revoltech Supergirl figure until someone pointed it out. And I was like, holy cheese and crackers, of course there is. Love it. Love to see this. I know Revoltech have a very specific style. It's a little bit like anime kind of looking, but for me, I love it. I dig it so much. Plus, they're not the big McFarlane style. It's more of that good Lord scale, so that works really well. Any excuse also for me on this list to include another Revoltech entry, I'm absolutely fine with that. This is a great Supergirl figure. Swamp Thing. Once again, I'm choosing a McFarlane figure under no duress because it's perfect. I know that a lot of people might say, oh yeah, but Swamp Thing isn't that big. He's a swamp thing with an emphasis on the thing. I can't even pronounce it right. But yeah, I'm happy to have a big, monstrous, mega figure Swamp Thing. This looks wicked. They've got like the even more highfalutin bells and whistles version as well. Whichever one you want to get from McFarlane, I think would be fantastic. I really love this Swamp Thing. The Atom. This one poses a bit more of a problem. Like characters that can get bigger, perfect for McFarlane. Characters that can get smaller, there's kind of a problem with McFarlane, but also the only game in town right now. So with that being the case, I'm going to have to go for McFarlane with the Atom. This is the Silver Age version, which I think was lauded, as well as some other ones, as being a phygital figure, because it comes with a digital picture. McFarlane, you and your marketing, terrible. But hey, the Atom figure's all right. Tim Drake Robin, possibly the most popular Robin, I dare say, because yeah, Dick Grayson, the OG classic, but he is Nightwing now. So if we're talking Robins, it's got to be Tim Drake, and he absolutely deserves an entrant on this list. Is what I'm saying in my political statement. So we've got the Mafex version this time. Again, Robin, Tim Drake, he's a younger character, so it's great to have a manufacturer that scales a little bit smaller. Actually, this Robin next to the Gong Studios Batman, yeah, I dig that. I like that. Okay, there you go. That's a good combination. I'm happy with that. The Riddler, Edward Nygma. Mafex, once again, coming in clutch with this one here. They've done their whole Hush line. So, of course, we've got some essential figures in there. And this particular version of Edward Nygma, I like it. It's kind of like classic Riddler, but sort of a bit more kind of modern and sort of contemporary with the suit as opposed to the spandex. I really like what they did with this. Good looking Ed Nygma. That's my choice for him. Two-Face, one of my favorite Batman villains. What can I say? I love the duality of man. It's a cool concept. There's a lot of good Two-Face figures out there, actually. But it just so happens that Mezco made one. Therefore, boom. That's my choice right there. But it's not just an arbitrary, oh, I'm going to choose Mezco because I prefer Mezco. Look at it. It's a really great looking Harvey Dent figure. Real gnarly with the messed up side of the face. The suit looks really beautiful. Excellent job from the Mezco team. For Wonder Woman, I'm also going to go for Mezco. I think they did a real nice version. It's not the most classic Wonder Woman, but Mezco, they kind of used their Mezco creative license, gave her a bit of a contemporary kind of look, but I think it works. We surprisingly don't have that many Wonder Woman figures out there. Certainly not as many as I think we should have, especially with the classic looking style. It's always like a little tweaked a bit, or a multiverse one, or a DC cinematic universe that's been recolored, things like that. This Mezco, I think, kind of captures the essence of classic Wonder Woman and then tweaked just a little bit. I really like what they did. And finally, rounding out the list appropriately enough with the Z's, we have got Zatanna. And Zatanna, call her what you will. We've got a nice little action figure that's not going back to McFarlane. It's nice to round out the list with something a little bit different. So, we've got the DC Universe Classics Series 14 exclusive action figure Zatanna Build-A-Figure Ultra Humanite piece. That was just the full name that I was Ron Burgundy sight reading from there. But basically what I'm saying is the old school Zatanna to round out what has been a pretty epic top 100 essential DC figures list. And folks, that does it for this video for today. What did you think about the top 100 choices? Comment below and let me know, because I have no doubt there are a whole bunch of characters who you were like, Dave, state of your list, mate. How could you have forgotten this person? Or you're like, how did you include that person? Batman? Who's ever heard of him? So yeah, let me know what you think. And gang, thank you so much for supporting the channel. All the names going up the side of me are the channel members who literally allow me to make these videos, because without your support, I wouldn't have the time. I'd be out working tons of other jobs to supplement the income. So thank you so much. You are helping me keep the channel running, and hand waving, motion, gestures. I should have been a politician. The cost of action figures is too damn high. Anyway, gang, thank you so much for your support. Dating this video as I might be, get your videos in for the Christmas special. I can't wait to feature all of those. And until next time, keep displaying model behavior.
Cup of coffee. Big time.